Hot chocolate on a rainy, cold night. So satisfying. Let's calm down a little bit. Can't hear it on here. Welcome back to a video. I had a video planned. I was recording it, and as I was going to edit, my voice wasn't matching with my video for some reason. For some reason, what I was saying was what I was supposed to say like a lot later. It was supposed to be a reaction video, but I waited for the uploader to post something else, and now I am going to do the reaction video. Hopefully it comes out good. There's this horror YouTuber known as Mr. Nightmare. He is really awesome. If you haven't heard of him, where have y'all been? Come on, guys. Check him out. I urge y'all to subscribe to him. He's a really good narrator. So what we're gonna watch today is the 3 true scary biking and bicycle horror stories. It sounded really interesting. I've never done a reaction video before, so I feel like I might not react as much. If anything, I'd probably give my opinion and review after the story. Like always, a chat. But we'll see how that turns out. If you're ready, let's get started. I still can't believe I don't have my PS4. I miss it so much. I haven't used it since like what, August? And the controller's getting dusty too. It's not a sad reaction video. Let's get to it. 3 biking horror stories.
When I was a little younger, I enjoyed off-road biking, like on bike trails in the woods. Living in rural Massachusetts, I always did a lot of exploring, usually on my bike. One of those many days that I was feeling adventurous, I got on my bike and rode down Irving Street, the road my parents' old house sat on. This road went a long way down, and it basically just ran through trees in all directions, with the occasional farmland. I'd usually cut off this road onto an intersecting road, or I'd just ride into the woods through one of the dirt paths. This particular day, I kept going further than usual on Irving Street, hoping to find these cool bike trails one of my friends told me about a few days prior. He said the entrance would be a little past a deer crossing sign. I didn't find the sign though, but I did find a trail that veered off the road into the woods. It was wide enough to easily navigate on my bike. So I turned off Irving Street and onto the dirt trail, which immediately dropped to a decline, allowing me to instantly pick up speed. I still don't know if these were the trails my friend was actually talking about or not, but they were fun to ride on, as they were very hilly and windy. I just rode around the apparent maze of trails, having fun exploring, until I started to get thirsty and realized I had forgotten my water bottle at home. Of course. So I decided to cut my bike ride short and start looking for the way back to the road. I rode around the trails trying to remember which way I came from, but it was literally a maze. Irving Street was a very quiet road, so hoping to hear the sound of traffic was kind of pointless. This was back when flip phones were a thing, and I didn't even have a cell phone yet, honestly, so I couldn't exactly just whip out my iPhone to look for directions. Then I realized I wasn't alone in the woods. There was a woman not too far away from me, just standing there watching me, kind of creepily. She was older, probably 60s. I called out to her asking for help because I'm lost. She replied in a low voice, yet I could somehow make out what she said. She said, "You shouldn't be in here." I apologized and asked for directions one more time, but she said, "Get out now," in a disturbingly sadistic way. I wasn't staying there another second. I rode off down the trail, resuming trying to find the road again. But from that moment forward, every 5 minutes or so, I'd see that lady, not too far away, always looking at me. This went on for some time, to the point that I got so uncomfortable that I hid behind this giant stone for a while once I lost sight of her. I waited for a long time, and it was getting dark quickly. I swear I was starting to freak out. Another half hour of trying to navigate this maze, and it was getting too dark to even make my way around on the bike. I could barely see the trails now. I was so tired I had to sit and take a breather, but something in my gut told me I was being watched. Like, you ever just get that feeling that you can sense the presence of someone else around you? I was right, because the old woman's voice broke the silence. She said, "Come here," but in a low voice, almost a whisper. This meant she was currently closer to me than I was comfortable with. I couldn't see a thing. I held myself together until she started making these cackling sounds. And that's when I lost it. I threw my bike to the floor. That was the last time I ever saw it. I started screaming, running through the woods. The nightmare of trying to find my way out of the woods finally ended when I saw the lights from a house not too far away. I ran as fast as I could to it and rang the doorbell. An older man answered the door and asked him for help, for some water and a ride or something. Thankfully, he was nice and happily offered to give me a ride to my house. He seemed particularly freaked out when I told him about the creepy woman in the woods. He said 3 people had gone missing in our county just that month alone. He also knew the trails I was talking about and said they were not privately owned by any woman, making the situation even weirder. I, of course, was furious about leaving my bike behind, but I had to get out of there. That woman had been stalking me riding on my bike for potentially hours. She was basically right in front of me in that pitch blackness.
Sorry, this chocolate's just really good. So I didn't react really, let's be honest right there. But on the inside, yeah, I was like, holy shit, this is fucking creepy. Okay, so that part with the old woman right there, obviously that's not like what it was, that's from the internet or whatever, but you know, that's what I like about this YouTuber. He picks good pictures and everything. So when I saw that old woman on there, it really looked like, you know, that's what it really was, and that added to the creepiness. And this really does sound like something supernatural, maybe, because I mean, every time he turned around, looked around, that old woman was there. She would say to get out. She didn't sound like just some murderer. She sounded like something out of this world, you know. And then even in the dark, she was that close by to him. I don't blame him for running away. I'm surprised he didn't run away any sooner than he did. He waited till dark. Dude, I'd be shitting myself way before dark. Oh, and I even give him credit for going to a stranger's house and getting them to give him a ride as well. Who knows, maybe people back then were nicer, or kidnapping wasn't a big thing, I don't know. But there's no way I would just go to someone's house and ask for a ride. And I feel like they wouldn't even want to feel, you know, comfortable giving you a ride. Like, man, both of those things that's just crazy. But yeah, that's why I like his videos. Like, he adds a very good visual, the bike ride, the darkness, a pretty good picture for picking an old lady. Like, it feels like you're there. And then on top of that, he's a good narrator. That's why I highly recommend him. I definitely don't mind recommending people to subscribe to him. He deserves it. And y'all should get some good entertainment.
Browsing the app Letgo one day, I came across a listing for a free bike. It was a black Trek brand bike, which is a top bicycle brand. At the time, my bike was an old piece of crap Schwinn that I hadn't used in years, so obviously this listing caught my eye. I contacted the lister, asking for more details, like if the bike was actually free, and where and when would I be able to pick it up. The lister responded relatively quickly, saying yes, it's for free, and said first come, first serve, but to hurry because a lot of people were contacting him. I asked him for the location or address, and he sent me coordinates. That should have been my first red flag. Who sends coordinates? I asked him, how am I supposed to track the coordinates? He said download an app on my phone. Then I asked, is there a nearby address you could just give me? He said not really, because he was keeping his address to himself for privacy reasons, and there weren't really any nearby notable locations. So he gave me a phone number to text him, told me his name was Gene, and we set a meet time of 6 p.m., as that worked for both of our schedules. I downloaded this GPS coordinates tracker app, and the coordinates led me on a 25-minute drive. As I got closer and there was nothing but woods on either side of me, I started to wonder where exactly these coordinates would be taking me. I was now 2 minutes away, and it seemed I was as far as I was going to get with my car. Exactly what I was worried about came true. I'd have to cut through the woods to get to these coordinates. I parked my car on the side of the road, but before heading into the woods like a clueless madman, I texted Gene saying I was parked on the side of a desolate road next to woods on either side, and that the app was pointing me in the direction of the woods. He replied back a minute later saying, "Yeah, this area is sketchy that way. It would probably be better if you just cut through the woods instead of looking for the trail. If you follow the direction it tells you, you'll find a huge clearing in the woods where I'm waiting with the bike." I already drove this far. I figured I might as well just see this through, even if I was finding this increasingly bizarre. I started my way into the woods, swiping twigs and leaves out of my way as I did my best to make it through the thick woods. I wasn't dressed for this at all, though. I did this for probably 4 minutes until I saw I was approaching the coordinates on my phone, but I didn't see any clearing in the woods ahead of me. Something wasn't right, so before going any further, I texted Gene again, saying I'm just about to be there, but can't see the clearing in the woods. I said maybe I have the wrong coordinates. A minute passed without an answer, so I tried to call him, but it went to voicemail after one ring. Then he texted back saying, "I have bad service, I can't talk on the phone." I asked him, "Where should I go? I think I'm lost." He didn't answer. I waited and waited, hoping he would, but nothing. After a couple more minutes, I called it quits. I started to feel like this was all fake from the start, and I was becoming paranoid of my surroundings. The sun was going down, so I hurried back in the direction I came. I thought I would be followed, but as I looked back behind me constantly, I didn't see anyone. I made it back to my car to make a shocking discovery. All 4 of my tires were slashed. My body entered a fight or flight mode before even seeing who did this. I approached the door of the car, wondering if I should hide inside and lock the door, but as I looked into the car, I could see someone laying on the back floor hiding. I chose my flight response. I sprinted all the way down the road, saying screw the piece of crap car. I heard my car door open and slam shut. When I turned around, I just briefly saw someone running into the woods. I took out my phone and of course called 911, asking them to please hurry to my location, that I'd be running down the road. 15 minutes or so later, a police car finally approached me with its lights on. They escorted me back to the scene of the crime, my car, and took a police report, which included every detail like the slashed tires and the text conversation. They accompanied me as I waited for my roadside assistance company to come and tow my car. I was brought safely to a shop where they changed my tires on the spot. The only thing I worried about was that man Gene getting my license plate number and possibly tracking me with it. But to this day he hasn't. So I like to think I'm safe from that.
That last part sounded creepy. Alright, that sounded a little more interesting, this story number 2. See, I don't know about the first one, supernatural or not, but this one, it's kind of actually pretty creepy to me because that can actually happen. It's happened before, it's always happened. Sadly, I think it'll always keep happening. There's gonna be someone that gets catfish, you know, trying to get a good deal, but just be careful when you go on Craigslist or any other ads where you gotta go meet up with someone. Always take a buddy with you. Take as many as you can, always better. And if something seems very suspicious or too good to be true, it probably is. Just, if you gotta go down an alleyway, a dark area, or this person specifically wants to meet one-on-one, 10 at night, don't trust any of that. Due to videos like these, they've helped me realize, I mean, yeah, they could be fake, but still, they helped me realize that you needed to be careful what time you go out. If you go in by yourself, you need to be careful with all of that. I like this one because, I don't know, it was just crazy how he goes to this specific spot, keeps texting the person, and, you know, he decides, okay, this can't be right. Bunch of red flags. So he goes back to the road. He was gonna go home, but his tires were slashed. Dude, I would have been freaking the hell out right there. And then he sees somebody there. Really, me personally, I would have tried to wait, call the cops, you know, maybe fight the person down, hoping he wouldn't have any weapons. If he did, well, we would go from there. I would try to run away. But yeah, just be careful out there. Like, that actually happens. People get catfished and kidnapped, killed, or, you know, just be careful when you go meet up with someone out there. You never know.
When I was a teenager, before my friends and I had our driver's licenses, our main means of transportation was our bikes. Our town isn't that big, and all of us live a short bike ride away conveniently. We'd often go for bike rides during the day, just around the neighborhood for fun, but we really liked going for bike rides at night, especially in the town area on Main Street by the bars and hubbub. It was a Friday night, pretty late, probably approaching midnight. I biked to Main Street with my friends Jackson and Roddy. It was a 15-minute bike ride from us. There were still some people out walking around down the street. Of course, we were only like 15 or 16, so we weren't actually going into any bars, just riding around for the vibe. We hung out in one of the parking lots on the street that we'd often just chill at. At that hour, there weren't many cars left in the parking lot. It was quieting down for the night. Roddy was the one to notice when a car pulled into the lot with its lights off and kind of parked conspicuously, in a way that it was facing us. After a few minutes, Jackson pointed out that he was pretty sure the guy in the car looked like he was watching us, so we started to migrate our hangout elsewhere. We biked out the exit of the parking lot and back onto Main Street, and the car also left the parking lot shortly after us. We all knew just by a single glance at each other, and didn't even have to speak a single word to know to start pedaling fast down the road. The car trailed us, but not too close behind. The driver must have somehow thought we weren't aware of it. He still had his lights off, not to mention. I said let's get to my house, instead of just aimlessly biking around trying to lose him in the streets. My house was the closest. It took us only like 5 minutes to get there. Before the car could turn the corner onto my street, we hurried to my backyard gate and rushed inside before he could see. We entered my house through the back door. My dad was still awake, surprisingly, in the living room. He was watching a movie. We all asked him if he could check outside, if the car was anywhere out there. He stepped outside for a second, then came back inside saying the coast was clear. He said we were smart to bike away as soon as we were suspicious. Anyway, my dad went to bed after his movie, and usually he wanted my friends out by that point, so Jackson and Roddy left on their bikes. I swear it wasn't even 20 minutes later that I got out of my bed after hearing something from the backyard. I went to my window and looked down to the backyard. I lifted my window up a little more, very quietly, just to better hear the sound. It was like this little clicking, rustling sound that would repeat every, 4 seconds. I stuck my head out the window, and I saw the shed door was open, but that didn't answer what that clicking sound was. I went to my dad's room and woke him up. He came with me first to my room, where I showed him the shed door, and then made him listen for the sounds. But now the sounds had stopped. The two of us rushed downstairs to the back door, where we flicked on the backyard light. My dad yanked the back door open and stormed into the yard, yelling for whoever was out there to come out. I worried about him going in the shed alone, so I came with him. But besides all the tools and other basic shed equipment, bikes and other shit like that, there was no one hiding in there. We found out on the way back inside the house that the clicking sounds I was hearing was someone trying to tamper with the outside lock, as the entire door handle was completely scraped up and almost ruined. The lock still worked, and that was only the storm door. There was still another door with a working lock behind it, so it was still safe. My dad told me to just go to bed, and he'd stay downstairs for the night and keep the outside lights on. He said he had the police come the next morning before I woke up. I'm 99% sure it was that man who followed us in the car. I don't know for sure how or when he found out where I lived, and I'm not sure why he gave up on busting the lock. Anything I say would just be a guess.
Well, I won't have much for this one. It was an alright story, but I didn't really get that invested in it. The takeaway message can be, always watch out for your surroundings. I know whenever I go hang out with one of my good friends, we'll go to the parking lot or something, have a meal to eat, we'll be chatting, and we do get a little suspicious when a car gets close to us or drives slowly near us. It's a parking lot, public place. There's nothing wrong with other cars there. It's just weird if, you know, they drive slowly behind you or they park kind of close to you when there's a whole empty parking lot to park anywhere. So just always watch out for your surroundings. If you feel suspicious, don't hesitate to leave. So far we haven't had to deal with anything weird. There was one time where there was a bunch of cars coming, or not a bunch of cars, but maybe 2 cars with a bunch of teenagers, and we were leaving anyways, but I think we picked a good time to leave. I think it would have been weird to stay there with a bunch of people coming. They actually went near where we were parked, but then again, we were leaving. But yeah, just always watch out, especially at nighttime. This was at night. Always go with your gut feeling. You never know when it'll save you.